I'm going to show you a couple paragraphs that come from your papers so far, just the rough drafts. And we're going to talk about transitions a little bit. So pause the video and read through this paragraph and then press play again once you have finished reading the paragraph. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is try to find the transitions that this person used in their paragraph. You can pause the video while you look for those. Okay, what I hope you noticed were some of these. Now, these are not all ones that are going to be found on your transitions chart, but they do the job of connecting. So that first if connects the idea that came right before it with a reason that comes after it. The second one that says when is a connecting, it tells time, first this, then that. Down at the bottom, closer to the bottom, you see illustrated. That means that they are providing an example. The contrasting word but is used at the beginning of that first sentence to show the reader that you were saying one thing, but now you're going to switch gears into a different idea. And is not often thought of as a transition, but it's a connecting. It's an addition transition, basically, because you can see that in that sentence, that the person is offering two reasons, same features on school-owned Chromebooks. Additionally, it's much easier to regulate. So and is acting like an additional transition there. And then because it's also a transition that shows a cause and effect relationship, there's one spot in here where this person probably should have added another transition. Did you notice it when you were reading? It is right there. So the person has a quote that talks about how tricky it is to compete with a funny YouTube video. And so that is a negative about cell phones. But then the person switches right into a positive. There are many possible educational benefits from mobile devices. That's a quick, abrupt change for a reader. And so right before that, this writer should add a contrasting transition. By the way, the transition doesn't have to come at the beginning of the sentence. The person could start writing this. There are many possible educational benefits, however, as illustrated. But anyway, somewhere in the sentence, there needs to be a contrasting transition. Let's take a look at a second paragraph that came out of your work. Take a minute to read this paragraph. This person highlighted their evidence and elaboration so they could more clearly see. And just so it would all fit on the screen, I deleted a bunch of their evidence. You can see the yellow is highlighted evidence, but I put dots by the stuff that I deleted. So just take a moment and read through this paragraph. Okay, there's a couple things I want to point out to you with this paragraph. The transition first off. Now, technically, that is how we speak, and there technically is nothing wrong with that as a transition, except that it is very informal. And when you are writing persuasively to a specific audience, school board, principal, newspaper, you want to appear educated, and so your language should be much more formal. So switch out first off for a more formal transition. Okay, this person actually has quite a few transitions in here, like the word therefore and this test and this means. Those are all transitions. Two spots actually, that I think that this student needs more transitions is before they go into their next bit of evidence. So I see that first bit of evidence here, and then the person explains it, and now I've got another piece of evidence. But the student writer has to tell me how I'm supposed to file this piece of evidence away. Is it in addition to this? Is it a cause and effect relationship to the first, this first idea they were talking about? Is it a further example of it? So a transition needs to be added. And again, I made the arrow go to the front of the sentence just to point it out, but the transition doesn't necessarily have to be positioned at the front. The same thing is true with this piece of evidence. Again, I understand now why you put that evidence in and you jump right into a new piece of evidence without telling me if you're going to be giving me another example or if you're going to create a scenario that I have to, that would show your idea fleshed out. Anyway, you need a transition that tells me how I'm supposed to file that bit of evidence away, and then the elaboration would explain how I'm supposed to think about that evidence. So again, you saw this slide previously, but now what? Now you should go through your essay, you should highlight existing transitions and find places to add transitions. The goal is to connect your ideas and make the reading flow more smoothly.